There are moments in life that shatter every belief you once held as absolute truth. For years, I stood firm in my role as an emergency doctor, grounded in science, reason, and the physical limits of this world. My name is Mariana Herrera, and for most of my life I thought I had seen everything death had to offer, until the day it came for me. What happened next cannot be explained by any textbook, medical journal, or scientific theory. For 5 minutes, I was clinically dead. But I wasn't gone. I went somewhere real, somewhere beautiful, somewhere terrifying. And I came back with a message I can no longer ignore. This is not a metaphor. This is my testimony. It started like any other morning. I arrived at the hospital just before sunrise, coffee in hand, already running through patient charts in my mind. The emergency room was already buzzing, nurses moving quickly between bays, alarms beeping in chaotic rhythm, and that familiar tension in the air. It was the rhythm of my life, the pulse of my profession. For over 6 years I had walked into that environment every day, prepared to save lives, witness tragedy, and, when necessary, hold the hands of those slipping away. I thought I understood death. I thought I had made peace with its presence. I never expected I would become one of its visitors. That morning I was treating a teenager with a minor arm fracture. He was nervous. His mother was pacing, and I remember trying to comfort them both while checking his vitals. The sunlight was streaming through the windows, casting soft lines on the sterile floor. It was an ordinary moment, mundane, almost forgettable, until, without warning, an invisible weight crushed down on my chest. It felt like someone had punched through my ribs and was squeezing my heart with relentless force. My breath vanished. The room spun. And in the span of a heartbeat, the healer became the one in need of healing. I tried to speak, to call for help, but no sound left my mouth. My knees buckled. The teenage patient screamed. I saw his wide, horrified eyes as I collapsed to the ground. The last thing I remember hearing was his voice shouting for a nurse. Then silence. A complete and terrifying silence that swallowed every sound, every sense. No more beeping monitors, no more fluorescent lights, no more hospital noise, only void. I lost consciousness, but I didn't vanish. Something inside me was still aware, still present, still witnessing. It was the beginning of a journey I never asked for, yet now know I was always meant to take. The medical team would later tell me I suffered a massive pulmonary embolism, a blood clot that traveled to my lungs and blocked the arteries, shutting down oxygen and stopping my heart. A congenital clotting disorder I didn't even know I had had finally revealed itself, and I had become a ticking time bomb that went off in the most unexpected moment. Statistically, I shouldn't have survived. The numbers were against me. 5 full minutes without vital signs. And yet, something deeper than medicine was at work. Something no monitor could track. Because while they fought to bring me back, I was no longer in that room. I was floating. That's the only way I can describe it. I was no longer inside my body. I could see it, lying still on the floor with my colleagues scrambling around me. I saw Dr. Morales performing chest compressions, Anna preparing the epinephrine dose with shaking hands. I saw it all from above, detached, but completely aware. The scene moved in slow motion, yet I was at peace. There was no fear, no pain, just clarity. The strange part wasn't the sensation of leaving my body. It was how natural it felt, how familiar, as if I had been there before, as if I had always known that this place existed, hidden just beyond the veil of breath. That peace wasn't empty. It was full of presence, full of truth. Everything felt more real than the world I had known. Colors were sharper, emotions were louder. I was pure awareness. And in that moment, as I hovered between two worlds, a thought hit me with staggering force. I was dead. I knew it. Not intellectually, but intrinsically. My body was lifeless. And yet, here I was. And the question that had haunted philosophers, mystics, and scientists for centuries was answered in an instant. There is something after this. Something very real. Something that sees you, knows you, and waits for you. As I drifted upward, away from the hospital, from the pain, from the identity of Dr. Herrera, I began to feel a pull. Not physical, but spiritual, magnetic. Something beyond me was calling. Something powerful. And I knew I had a choice to make. Or at least, that a decision would soon be made on my behalf. I wasn't ready to go, but I wasn't afraid either. That duality of surrender and resistance was the last thing I remember before everything changed again, before I would meet the light, before I would come face to face with a truth that would forever redefine my life, my purpose, and the way I see every breath I take. The darkness that followed was not frightening. It was soft, almost comforting. Not the kind of blackness that swallows you, but one that holds you like a blanket on a cold night. I was drifting, but not lost. I was alone, yet not lonely. Time had no meaning, and space had no boundaries. My thoughts didn't come in words, but in emotions, pure and unfiltered. I remember wondering if this was it, if this calm emptiness was all that awaited us beyond life. But then, like a single star piercing a night sky, I saw it, a distant light. It pulsed, not like electricity, but like breath, living, radiant, pulling me closer with each heartbeat I no longer had. As I moved toward the light, I felt a strange expansion. My mind was no longer confined by logic, language, or memory. I understood things instantly, truths that had once eluded me. Concepts like time, purpose, and connection unfolded inside me with perfect clarity. The light grew larger, not because it moved, but because I was being welcomed into it. I didn't walk. I didn't float. I simply arrived. And the moment I touched its edge, I was overcome by something I can only describe as unconditional acceptance. Every flaw, every mistake, every fear I had ever buried within myself was laid bare, and met with compassion instead of judgment. Inside the light, there was presence, not just energy or consciousness, but a being. I didn't see him with eyes, but I knew without doubt who he was. He didn't speak, yet every part of me heard him. Jesus. Not the figure from paintings or sermons, but a living force of love. His gaze pierced through every wall I had ever built, and still, there was no condemnation, only understanding. In his presence, I didn't feel small. I felt seen, known, held. And though my first instinct was to fall into his arms, I couldn't move. Not because I wasn't able to, but because I was already within him. His love didn't surround me, it saturated me. Then, he showed me my life. Not as a linear story, but as a web of moments. I saw the kindness I had offered patience, the angry words I had spoken in haste, the laughter shared with friends, and the tears shed in private. Each moment was connected to others in ways I had never imagined. A small smile to a stranger created a ripple that traveled through time. A careless dismissal of someone's pain caused echoes I hadn't been aware of. Nothing was insignificant. Every choice had weight. Every gesture had consequence. And I watched it all with a strange sense of duality. Sorrow for what I hadn't done better, and awe for the good I never realized I had done. He didn't tell me I was perfect. He didn't scold me either. What I received wasn't a verdict, but a vision. A deeper understanding of how life truly works. I saw humanity not as separate individuals, but as a tapestry, each thread influencing the next. My actions affected others, whose reactions affected more, and so on. It was both beautiful and overwhelming, but more than anything, it was humbling. Jesus wasn't showing me these things to shame me. He was awakening me to purpose, to possibility, to the truth that life is not measured by achievements, but by love. And in that moment, I felt myself begin to weep, not with sadness, but with reverence. I asked if I could stay. I didn't want to leave. The peace, the clarity, the presence. It felt more like home than anything I had ever known. But he looked at me, not with words, but with a gaze that spoke directly to my soul. And I understood. It wasn't my time. There was more to do. A message to carry. Something vital to share with a world drowning in noise and starving for truth. He said it again, with silent power. Not yet. You must return. And before I could argue, I felt the shift. A pulling. A sensation like falling upward. And then, just before everything disappeared, he gave me one final vision, one I didn't expect. I saw a world torn in two. One side was filled with shadow, people isolated, angry, scared, numb. A world driven by fear, greed, and selfishness. The other side radiated light, humans embracing each other, acting with compassion, building rather than destroying. Both futures were possible, Both were real, but which one we would inherit depended entirely on what we choose today. I saw children smiling in one world, crying in the other. I saw families healed by forgiveness, and others shattered by bitterness. It all came down to choice. And as I was pulled back toward my body, one truth echoed louder than anything else. Love is the only way forward. The jolt that brought me back felt like being slammed into concrete. My body convulsed. My eyes flew open. Bright lights, faces blurred by tears, voices crying out in disbelief. Dr. Morales shouted that he had a pulse. Anna collapsed into the chair beside me, weeping into her hands. I tried to speak, but my throat was raw. Every breath felt like a fire igniting in my chest. The pain was real. The disorientation was worse. But through it all, there was something stronger than the confusion. Memory. I remembered everything. Not as a dream, but as an imprint. As a truth deeper than bone. And I knew in that moment, nothing would ever be the same again. The days that followed were a blur of machines, medications, and recovery. The hospital staff treated me with clinical professionalism, but I could feel the tension behind their eyes. How could someone survive what I had survived? 5 minutes without a heartbeat, statistically impossible. But here I was, breathing, alive, changed. My colleagues tried to explain it away. Medical anomalies, last-minute interventions, neurochemical hallucinations. But their words fell flat. I knew what I had seen. I knew who I had met. And no amount of rationalization could erase that truth. I wasn't just back. I had been sent back. There was one moment that shattered my doubt entirely. It was the second night in the hospital. I couldn't sleep. I was staring at the city lights through the window when I felt it. A cold shiver, not of fear, but familiarity. I turned my head and saw her. A woman standing silently across the room. She wore a hospital gown, her hair draped over her shoulders. But her presence was different, otherworldly. I blinked, unsure if I was hallucinating. She smiled softly. "You saw it," she whispered. Her voice was barely audible, but it cut through the air like thunder. I was frozen, breathless. "I saw it too," she added, stepping closer. I wanted to speak, to ask who she was, but she seemed to read my thoughts. "Not all of us come back," she said. "Some don't find the way. Others don't want to return. But you were sent back, with a message." Her words felt like echoes from another world. Then as quickly as she appeared, she was gone. No sound, no trace. Just the beeping of my heart monitor and the icy chill on my skin. I sat up in bed, trembling. Was she real? A figment of my mind? But deep down, I knew. She had been real. Just as real as the light. Just as real as him. She had seen it too. And she came to remind me. I couldn't keep this to myself. The next morning, I asked the nurses about her. Described her appearance, her voice, her demeanor. No one matched. No patient in the ICU or emergency ward fit her description. It was as if she had never existed. But I knew better. That encounter wasn't a coincidence. It was a confirmation. A sign that I wasn't alone. That others had seen beyond the veil and had come back carrying pieces of a truth the world desperately needed. And that's when it hit me. This message wasn't just for me. It wasn't about validating my experience or satisfying my curiosity. It was a calling, one that demanded courage, one I could no longer ignore. The following days became a strange balance between healing and reflection. My body was regaining strength, but my soul was restless. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had seen, about the light, the presence, the message. I tried returning to routine, eating meals, doing light rehab, talking with doctors, but nothing felt real anymore. The world around me seemed like a distant echo of the one I had just left. Colors were duller, time moved slower, and people walked through life unaware of the invisible truth surrounding them. I wanted to scream it, shake them, tell them, "There's more," but who would believe me? It was Anna who broke the silence. After a long shift, she sat next to me in the hospital cafeteria and just stared. Her eyes searched mine, as if trying to confirm what she already sensed. "You're not the same," she finally said. "There's something different in you." I nodded slowly. For a moment, I hesitated, afraid she would dismiss it, mock it, walk away. But when I whispered, "I saw him," her expression didn't change. No shock, no ridicule, only understanding. I told her everything, floating above my body, the light, Jesus, the visions. She didn't interrupt, she didn't question. She simply listened, her eyes full of silent tears. Talking to Anna felt like exhaling after holding my breath for days. It wasn't just about being heard, it was about being believed. She didn't need proof. She felt the truth in my voice, in my presence. "You need to share this," she said. "Not to convince the world, but to reach those who are ready to hear it." That sentence echoed in my mind over and over. I realized that my mission wasn't to convert or argue, it was to speak, to be the voice for those who had no words, the bridge for those stuck between fear and faith, and most of all, the reminder that love is real, and it's waiting on the other side. So I began to write. Every night I sat in my apartment typing through tears, reliving every second of the experience. I didn't care if the grammar was perfect or the structure polished. I wrote to capture the feeling, the weight of the light, the soundless voice of Jesus, the unbearable beauty of what I had seen. With every word I healed a little more. With every memory I relived, the message grew stronger. This was no longer just my story. It belonged to everyone who had ever feared death, to everyone who had questioned their worth, to everyone who had wondered if love was enough. It was. It is. What surprised me the most was how many others had stories like mine. Once I began to share my experience in small circles, church groups, quiet hospital conversations, even anonymous forums, people opened up. Some had seen tunnels of light. Others had heard voices. A few had encountered loved ones long gone. And all of them shared the same truth. There is something beyond this world. Something more real than anything here. The details varied, but the core remained unchanged. Love, peace, connection. That's what waited for us. But I also heard darker stories, painful visions, warnings, reminders that not everyone sees the same side. It was in those darker stories that I understood the full weight of my mission. This wasn't just a message of comfort. It was also a wake-up call. Jesus hadn't only shown me paradise, he had shown me the consequences of fear, hate, and indifference. I had seen a world without love, and it terrified me. Not because it was foreign, but because I saw traces of it here. Every time we choose selfishness over service, every time we lash out instead of listen, every time we close our hearts, we bring that darkness closer. And yet, every act of compassion pushes it back. Every kind word, every sacrifice, every gesture of grace, we build heaven piece by piece. That was the final realization. The afterlife isn't just about what happens when we die. It's shaped by how we live. Every moment here is a seed planted in eternity, and we choose the harvest. We don't need to fear death if we've lived a life rooted in love. I don't know why I was chosen to see what I saw, but I know why I was sent back. To tell you that your life matters. Your choices matter. You are not alone. Whether you believe in religion or not, the truth remains. Love is the only thing we carry with us. Everything else, titles, possessions, appearances, disintegrates. But love transcends, and it never dies. What I witnessed beyond the veil of this world wasn't just meant for me. It was meant for you, for the weary, for the skeptical, for the curious and the broken. I came back with the weight of a message too powerful to keep quiet. There is more beyond this life. There is love waiting on the other side, and there is purpose in your breath, even in your pain. You are not an accident. You were created with intention, and you are deeply known by the one who created you. He's not far away. He's closer than you've ever imagined. All it takes is a decision, a moment of surrender to step into that truth. I'm not asking you to follow a religion. I'm inviting you into a relationship, one that transforms, one that heals, one that restores. Jesus didn't meet me in judgment, he met me in love. And that love still reaches for you, right now, wherever you are. Whether you've walked with him before or you're hearing his name with new ears, he's not done with you. This is your time. This is your invitation. Don't wait for a near-death experience to realize what matters most. Choose now. Choose life. Choose love. Choose Jesus. If this story stirred something in you, if it awakened a longing, a question, or a sense of recognition, I urge you, don't let it fade. Act on it. Talk to him. Open your heart. And if you need a place to keep growing, keep hearing, keep remembering what's true, this space is for you. Subscribe to the channel, not just to hear more stories, but to walk together in faith. Share this message with someone who needs hope. Leave a comment and tell me what this awakened in you. These words might reach the exact person who's been silently praying for a sign. The world is aching for something real, for something eternal. We live among distractions, doubts, and noise, but love cuts through all of it. Real love, the kind that never dies, the kind that sees you at your worst and still chooses you. That's the love I met. That's the love I came back to speak of. And now, it's yours too. All you have to do is receive it. If you've felt far from God, if you've wondered if you could ever start again, this is your moment. You're not too far gone. You're not too late. You're exactly where you need to be to begin again. Inscreva-se no canal e siga Jesus. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, now. Because what's waiting on the other side is more glorious, more beautiful, and more real than anything you've ever known. And because the world needs more people living with the fire of eternity in their hearts. Your life has the power to touch generations. Your story matters. Your faith matters. Let's make every moment count. Let's walk this together. Thank you for listening, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Thank you for giving me the honor of sharing what forever changed my life. You are part of this now, part of this mission, part of this hope. And I pray that from this moment on, you will live with a renewed sense of purpose, courage, and compassion. You are not alone. You never were. Until we speak again, stay close, stay tender, and stay awake to what truly matters. I'm here with you, and so is He.